recall as many of the words that you just remember?
Dentist.
You can do it mentally or you can say it out loud, but that's not the point. Alright, chances are, if you followed what I was trying to make you do, some of you may have remembered the word doctor as one of your words. But here's the thing, doctor was never on that list. And yet, if this actually worked on you, it shows that your memory is not as reliable as you may think. Your brain played a trick on you, and what you just experienced was just a simple demonstration of how false memories work. As shown here, we have many words, and as long as you associated doctor with the words that you just saw, you may have thought of the word doctor instead. Now, what we just saw only displays a smaller scale of things, just one word slipping into your recall. But imagine how this plays out in the larger scale of things in your daily life. Most false memories are harmless, such as remembering something in a picture that wasn't actually there, or even misremembering what you had for dinner the previous day. But, however, all of these small memory errors still show us that our recollection is never 100% perfect, as our brain is reconstructed, and our predictions make us think of stuff that haven't actually happened or you haven't actually seen. But sometimes this process creates far more vivid illusions, as shown by déjà vu. So déjà vu is French for meaning already seen. It's basically where you feel like you're reliving a moment in your life, but you know for a fact that you haven't actually been there. So why are you experiencing it? You only feel it for a split moment of your life, yet we can never pinpoint when, where, why, or how this experience happens. So why do we experience it? Our memory tends to mismatch our experiences with déjà vu, making us feel like something's actually happened. But over 66% of our population experiences déjà vu, yet so little is still known about it. However, we have some theories. The leading theory being memory misfire. The director of the Neurology Learning and Behavior Center claims that our experiences normally flow smoothly through our working memory into our short-term and then our long-term storage. However, during déjà vu, something goes wrong and something else happens instead, where our brain takes a shortcut, bypassing the usual steps and filing the present directly into your long-term memory. This results in you seeing something while remembering at the same time, creating that surreal sense of reliving a moment. But there are other theories besides just that one. Some researchers believe it's a timing glitch, where a split-second delay within the perception areas of your brain result in a part of your brain, processing one part slower than the other, making it feel like the present is a replay. Others think it's your implicit memory at work. Perhaps maybe the subconscious fragment in your senses triggers a sense of familiarity. Along with that, researchers at Colorado State University state that any sort of resemblance from a previous memory such as a pattern on an object of any kind, may make you think you see that same exact object, but in the present. It's all so weird, right? Alright, next we have a collective amount of false memories, also known as the Mandela effect. This is where a group of people all experience the same exact false memory. It's different from déjà vu, but basically the concept behind it is there's a man named Nelson Mandela who many have thought to have died in 1980s due to him being in prison. But in reality, many discovered that he actually died in 2013. But why is that? Other popular examples of the Mandela effect include Curious George without his tail, or the Pikachu having no black part on his tail, the misspelling of the word Fruit Loops, the missing cornucopia in the fruit of the loom, and many more. But why do we all have the same incorrect memory of the same problem? This is because humans are inherently social. And as a result of that, we all build off of each other's memories. So if one person explains a very vivid yet inaccurate account of something, others tend to adopt that version without even realizing that they did so. Additionally, because memories are all collective together, we tend to all have the issue of being easily swayed by each other. For example, if you're someone who is easily swayed, you're more likely to just adopt the version that someone else believes that you've had if someone else is more confident than you and expresses their false memory to seem like it's actually true. As a result, many of these false memories tend to spread on social media and creating a misinformation effect, ultimately leading more down the rabbit hole of the Manila effect. But here's where things take a turn. If all our memories are this malleable, how does this apply to our real-world implications? For example, things like eyewitness testimony, where someone's fate can be determined solely based off of someone else's account. That's a really scary situation, as our memory may not be reliable in these life-changing events. But what do we do as a result? Not only that, there are further studies done with decades of research behind it, where you can actually implement false memories into people's minds. For example, researchers at University of California, Irvine, have tried experiments, and in these well-known experiments, there are people who are convinced that they were lost in a mall as a child, even further backing up their story, trying to convince themselves it actually happened. But yet, it didn't. Furthermore, we also have an experiment where people thought that Bugs Bunny was present at Disneyland, even though that's impossible, since Bugs Bunny is a Warner Bros. Character. So, this just further explains to us that we need to be careful because our memories can be unsettling. However, what I just said to you was probably scary, but there's a more positive outlook to this as well. Let's think about the benefits that false memories may have. For example, I probably forgot to stick the slides. For example, we have examples where people tend to enhance their survival tasks based off of these distortions in their memories because they can use that past memory to trigger how they act accordingly. Additionally, it can also strengthen social bonds or also make you try new things that you haven't already because your false memory makes you think that you've already done it. Experiences like this further enhance your false memory, which may not necessarily be a good thing, but as long as you have an attitude towards what you think, it may end up being a good thing or bad thing depending on how you act upon it. Now that we understand the more fragile part of memory, you can learn many things from this and start to see the world a little bit differently. For me personally, I've started to become more considerate and understanding of any sort of conversations and arguments I may be in, as I realize that neither of us are technically wrong in a situation. We may just have different reconstructions of how the situation went down. Furthermore, I've started to become more curious about what parts of my life have actually been true and what parts of my life I've actually just made up in my mind. Alright, besides that, because memory is not technically a perfect recording of your past, it's trying to think of all the things that have happened and trying to make sense of it all in your mind. And understanding the brain's reconstructive nature allows you to actually change how you think to engage with your past, your present, and even your future. Because our memory is adjusted to help us remember the meaning of things instead of everything with perfect precision and accuracy, we tend to actually prioritize these things and forget all the irrelevant details. So, as shown by your original example with all the words, maybe seeing the word doctor wasn't actually a mistake. Maybe it was just your brain filling in these gaps and leaving all the leftover stuff to make you think that the word doctor was on there. In other words, it was filling in your gaps because it seemed like it should have been there. Now, as shown, our memories are notoriously and inherently unreliable, which raises the question, whenever you see something and you're trying to recall it, is it something you actually saw, or is it just your brain trying to make you think that you actually saw it because there's either a certain need for it? So, next time, when you recall your memory, I want you to ask that question to yourself, as that simple question may just change how you remember, how you decide, and ultimately, how you move forward with your life.